Welcome back. I'm still with former Tory advisor James Price. Quickly, let's talk about net zero. We just, with Rod Liddle, I just discussed the suicidal Labour policy of axing or freezing pensioners to death, which they proudly stuck to today. We're going to carry on with that one. We like it. Had nothing to do with our shellacking by Reform UK last week. Yeah, it did. That's half the reason. And the other reason, or another major reason, is this net zero nonsense and that lunatic crazy Ed Miliband. Well, last week, Tony Blair sounded the warning and just said, look, we carry on like this, it's going to be electoral suicide. This is doomed to fail. And now Lord David Blunkett, another Labour big beast, has stepped onto the bandwagon and said exactly the same, saying that unless we do something about this, we are in big trouble. And yet, what do we get from this government? Nope. No change, no change. What is the matter with them? Why can't they look at what happened to them on Thursday and Friday last week? The absolute humiliating annihilation they suffered from Reform. Why can't they see it's time to do something about these phenomenally unpopular policies?
I think it is some kind of peculiar psychosis, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, when they first came in and everything went badly straight away, and the Winterfield payments was one of the stupid first things that they did do, that we were all told in government by the civil servants, oh, you should do this, and realising that, of course, it would be politically very toxic, as well as perhaps very damaging to poor older people if you don't have something else to counteract it. But I think that they got high on their own supply, Labour, and they believed all the stuff they spent 14 years criticising the Tories for. That the Tories are evil people, and as soon as we come in, everything will be fine and everybody will love us. And they still believe that. And I think they also believe what they say about Reform. They think Reform, far right, evil, bad, terrible people. Everyone is so stupid, but they'll come back to us eventually. They actually think like that. They genuinely believe it. And it's why they're still acting so stupidly in government, whether it's on net zero, on immigration, or on any other number of issues.
Honestly, they are so blinkered on all this. I heard a Labour lackey last week on this channel saying, well, you know, one of the things that, this was after the results, one of the things that we've got going for us and that Reform have got problems with is a lot of people really hate Nigel Farage, whereas nobody hates Keir Starmer. They are locked in their own bubble. Actually, Richard Powell, Saeed Power it was, everybody hates Keir Starmer, and not that many people hate Nigel Farage. They cannot break out of their own kind of groupthink bubble, and it's a massive problem for them. Now let's move on to. Oh no, I mean one other point we should make out in the Sun today. They're carrying this poll that reveals that Brits overwhelmingly believe that the cutting the cost of living must be prioritised over Mad Miliband's green claptrap. You know, they don't want to spend that. They don't want to have the highest energy bills in the world, which is what we've got. They don't want to be paying 5 times more for their gas and electricity than they pay in America. I mean, why can't the government see this?
Well, that's very selfish, isn't it? You should want to die in aid of this nebulous idea of net zero, right? That would be a lovely sacrifice to go and do on VE Day coming up, right? But they do. Don't forget, this is the same government, by the way, that wants to bring in assisted suicide, and that some of these people are saying actually it'd be very good to kill off the lower socioeconomic people and all this kind of stuff. So they don't actually think life is that sacrosanct. It's not as important as their cherished socialist ideas, which is what net zero is. Right? I'm all for trying to save the environment. I think that's very important. We should look after England's green and pleasant land, but we'll do that by funding cool, exciting new technologies of the future that give us huge amounts of clean, free energy. We'll do it through science and technology and through market capitalism, not through Ed Miliband, quite obviously.
Yeah, get rid of Ed. Ed must go. Let me know what you think. How swiftly would you like to see Ed Miliband leave the building? 03444991000. I'm thinking nanoseconds. Now let's move on to the other party that should take serious note of what happened last week, of course, is the Conservative Party, the Tories. I don't know quite how close your affiliation is with these days, but it used to be close. They're in trouble. I think Kemi Badenoch, as many are now saying, is not up to the job. I've got a couple of quotes from dismayed backbenchers, senior MPs apparently. One was, these results were actually worse than last year's general election. We have somehow gone backwards. Another one said, we just cannot continue as we are, and she is just not up to the task. I mean, I feel slightly uncomfortable raining down on her parade, but she is proving that she isn't up to it, I think.
It's very difficult, I think, the inheritance that she had, right?
Yeah, I'm not undermining the enormity of her task, but she's not doing it well.
I think the problem is that when you inherit what you did from Rishi Sunak of only having down now, 121 MPs, it's the worst result I think the Conservative Party ever had under Rishi, who was just, I think incapable of galvanising people, of exciting anybody, of dealing with the big structural problems that the country inherited. I think actually, although Liz Truss may have been a big failure, at least she tried to grapple with the enormity of things rather than the sort of tepid managed decline of Rishi Sunak. So Kemi inherits a really poisoned chalice in lots of ways, and I think that she's right in the abstract that the Tory party should take a bit of time, remember what it actually believes in, and it has these great well springs and deep pools of philosophy and of deep ideas and of a great history when they led the country through great times, people like Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher and these sorts of things. I think with reform breathing down their necks, and I think with the government being as bad as they've been, as quickly as they've been, even someone as partisan as me didn't expect Labour to be as bad as they have been this fast. I don't think that Kemi Badenoch's idea of going slowly and trying to work things through methodically is really going to work, and I think therefore she needs to go a lot faster.
I think both of these parties, Labour and the Tories, they both knew that they were in for a bit of a kicking. But I think they were stunned at the magnitude of it. The Tories just don't really know what to do about it. As I say, Kemi Badenoch last week dismissing, after the reform's results, dismissing them as a protest party. Kemi, you've got to get your act together. You can't keep calling them a protest party. They are a very serious political force here. And if she genuinely believes they're a protest party, the Tories are in bigger trouble than I thought.
Yeah, absolutely right. And look, I think there's a world in which this could all work out very well for the country, because I think reform could take, as they've shown, places that the Conservative brand is still tarnished from the Boris and Rishi years, still tarnished from Margaret Thatcher, all these sorts of things. And reform could do very well there in selling the sort of patriotic right-wing messages in a very different way. I think the Conservative Party still has a lot of experience in it. It still has a lot of the scars on our backs. I certainly do. When I first started in government, I was a young girl with a dream, and you can see the effect that it's had on me. I know a thing or two about how things go wrong. And therefore, the idea of a potential future coalition of these two could be a great thing if done right. Not going to happen if the Tory party doesn't get its act together. Farage might not need it, but if it does, it presents a good challenge and battle of ideas. Look at what the two parties are saying on deportations of illegal immigrants, for example. They're chasing each other to the right and actually finally starting to catch up with where the public are at. The public want every single illegal immigrant deported straight away, no ifs, no buts, for example. So that could be a great thing, but at the moment, I think it's a struggle.
And obviously for Labour to go down that road is very, very difficult on a number of levels. But it ought to be navigable for the Tories, and yet Kemi always rails back. I mean, I don't know, why doesn't she talk really tough on the migration crisis, for example, and yet she doesn't. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter that much. Just say you'll leave the ECHR. I mean, just say it. Why won't she do this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they will, and I think they will say it quite soon now. Again, her idea in the abstract of saying, I'm not going to make big announcements straight away until I've thought it all through, until we've worked out all the permutations, right? Yeah, in an academic context, in a university, that might be a nice idea. If you're writing a big book about something, that might be an idea, but there isn't the luxury of time. The hour is pretty late in general, and therefore she needs to get a wriggle on with these things. So it's not helped by the fact that Rob Jenrick, who you mentioned earlier, is doing so well in his brief and making all the waves and improving as a performer all the time, and getting his message across and coming out with ideas.
Yeah, and so her stated strategy of not rushing, taking her time, no need to hurry here, I think was a big mistake. I mean, I think you always have to hurry in politics. You can never sort of go into reverse and take your time. You never can.
Right.
And I think she's made a big strategic error there, and she needs to get going now, doesn't she, in a major way, because the Tories are plotting, and you know what the Tories are like when they start plotting. Usually someone is going to die, and this time I think it'll be Kemi. They are plotting, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think once you get a taste for this sort of thing, you know, the number of different leaders the party had for a long time, and if you're in opposition, like the Conservatives are, there's not as much to do, so they sit around scheming.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be great for the party to have yet another new leader if they can all pull together and come out with some great policies, because, as you say, we need to hurry, and actually a lot of the problems, people listening at home will be screaming and saying the problems aren't that complicated, right? Like, let's cut immigration massively, let's get the economy going again, let's deport people, let's actually lock up damn criminals.
Yeah.
If someone says, you know, I want to blow up a mosque, blow up somewhere or whatever, right? Let's deport them. Let's put them in prison, right? Let's sort out the funding for the NHS. This stuff isn't that complicated, and therefore say this popular stuff now and then start working on the details as time goes on.
Exactly. You know, I'm afraid when you're in opposition, your job is chasing headlines, isn't it? I mean,
exactly right.
Get yourself on the telly, get yourself on the radio, get yourself on the front page. She's not doing that. Robert Jenrick, in stark contrast, is all over the place. He's on massive manoeuvres, isn't he?
Well, I suppose so, but at the same time, it's just exactly as you say, that's what you've got to do. You turn on Talk, you turn on some other channels, and he's there. He's doing stuff. He's doing stuff on Twitter, doing stuff on YouTube. He's got people actually doing some research now. And some of the other members of the Shadow Cabinet are doing this as well. A guy called Andrew Griffith, who's the Shadow Business Secretary. He's really doing good stuff as well. And a few of the rest of them, and I think they will
Chris
pop up
Phelps
at a certain point.
hard as well.
Phelps working hard, right? So and this is the thing, although the party is massively reduced in terms of number of MPs, actually a lot of the ones we lost were pretty bad MPs who frankly should not be running anything. Exactly right. Whereas every liberal Democrat will tell you every silver lining has a cloud, right?
Yeah.
But so there is talent in there. They just need to pull their finger out and get a wriggle on, because otherwise reform will totally eat their breakfast.
You're right, there is talent in there. Funny you mentioned the Lib Dems. There is no talent in there. Listen, it's fantastic to have you on board, James, as always. That's James Price, former Tory advisor.